Rotator cuff Rotator cuff tears are one of the most common findings on MRIs of the shoulder. While this can be a scary diagnosis, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need shoulder surgery to fix the tear. This becomes especially true if we're looking at degenerative tears, which means that this has just kind of happened over time, wear and tear, and there wasn't a traumatic incident such as falling off a ladder, catching yourself. The degenerative tears honestly do really well with rehab. The problem is knowing where to start with rehab because a lot of loading to the shoulder joint is going to be painful. What I like to start with in rehab to really start loading the rotator cuff, which is going to promote healing and new muscle tissue being laid down, is positional isometrics. So an isometric meaning that we're going to set up the shoulder, we're going to ask the rotator cuff to contract, and then we're just going to hold that position. We're not actually doing movement through the joint. These positional isometrics serve a few purposes. First of all, they usually are great at decreasing pain levels. They're also something that can be done pretty frequently in early stages of rehab because they're low threat. They also start introducing load to the muscle so that the brain knows that we're using that muscle and we want to start laying down new healthy muscle tissue as opposed to scar tissue, which is what the body will lay down if you kind of just stop using that part of the body. In this video, I want to share with you 2 positional isometric exercises that I like to use in the really early stages of rotator cuff rehab. These are pretty low threat and most people tolerate them very well, and then it sets us up so that we can progress to more fun things later down the road. Okay, for this first movement, you're going to be laying on your stomach. You're going to need a yoga block or a foam roller, and then you may or may not want a change plate. You are going to position your upper arm on the foam roller or yoga block, and then let your hand and wrist drop down. From here, you can tinker around with the setup. So if you see my arms at like shoulder height here, if this were symptomatic, I could drop the height of my arm, bring it in closer to my body, and I'll still be able to perform the movement. So what we're going to do to contract the external rotators of the shoulder, they sit on the back side. You're going to contract that back side of the shoulder and you're going to think about swiveling your bicep up. That should rotate your shoulder such that your hand comes up. Your arm is working against gravity here, so while this may look easy, this can be quite challenging, especially as we build up to hold times of 20 or 30 seconds. I'm thinking about actively contracting the back of my shoulder as I do this to get as much muscle recruitment as possible. And then once I've hit my hold time, I'll do a slow, controlled lower back down. From there, I could add a change plate if I wanted. I'm going to make sure my wrist stays neutral. I'm going to contract the back of the shoulder, rotate up. Everything else is the same. You're going to build up your hold time, slow, controlled, lower back down. So this is the first movement that I like to use to train the external rotators. Let me show you one more. Okay, and then another option for an isometric is we can use a resistance band, and we'll actually be training both arms together on this. You're going to loop your hands in the resistance band, and then what we're basically doing is we're contracting the back side of the shoulder to rotate the arm out this way. As you rotate out, the band will give you resistance. So what it'll look like is I'm going to come here and I am just rotating out. I'm not just pinching my shoulder blades here. I'm really making sure that the actual upper arm bone rotates, so you can think about just swiveling your biceps out. Once this is pretty easy and you're holding here, you can make this a little more dynamic by holding that isometric of the rotator cuff, but you can work on kind of coming up between shoulder height, down at your side, and doing, I call these shoulder saws. This can be quite challenging. Just make sure that we're not just pinching the shoulder blades here, and we really are getting this upper arm bone to swivel back. So that's another option that I like to use to load the rotator cuff isometrically in early phases of rehab. If this video was helpful for you, please drop a line in the comments below. Also, let me know what other content you'd like to see, and then make sure to follow my channel for more tips and tricks to keep your body healthy and injury-free and allow you to continue to train and push yourself in the gym.